Why are magic users so powerful in Baldur's Gate? Or why are they so annoying to face, especially once you arrive at BG2, where mages and magic are everywhere at a much, much higher level than BG1? That's what we're going to explore in this Baldur's Gate Tactica. And while certainly the game has the ability to be completed with any character class, and after you've made your way through a couple of playthroughs, no spoilers, you learn the tactics, you learn to adjust. The game offers you a little bit more freedom. But those first couple of playthroughs, along with what is the easiest or one of the most powerful character classes, the mage, the magic user, is right up there. The reason for that, if we go behind the scenes, if we take the game, take the RPG, take the story, and reduce it down to a rule set, reduce it down to this flow chart, this action chart, this checklist, mages are powerful for two reasons. The first is they completely bypass most of their spells. Now, obviously, there's a variety of spells in there, but most of their spells will bypass the mechanics of the game. Now, when we get to combat, we've got those cool animations, we've got the music, we're doing this and that, but the D&D, the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons rule set, behind the scenes, under the hood, first thing you have to do is hit. This is why I pushed up to the BG archive here, the importance of armor class. First, you have to be able to score a hit. Now, obviously, modifiers and certain character classes and abilities and weapons are going to make that easier, but at the same time, you're going to be fighting monsters and encounters that have a better armor class. Either way, you can hit really hard, but you can still roll a 1 behind the scenes. Sometimes you turn on those dice rolls and you can kind of see the mechanics of that in play. First, you have to hit. Then we go to damage. We'll score damage. And this is modified, of course, most of the time by the weapon strength. You've got some sort of swing there. If it's 1d8, it can do 1 or 8 points of damage. And then you have modifiers that naturally are going to apply, strength modifiers, magical modifiers, inherent bonus modifiers, but there's a randomness to that. You could score really, really high or really, really low. And of course, at the higher levels, scoring low damage is still insanely high because you've got a lot of modifiers. But the counter to that is some of the monsters, no spoilers, that you're facing naturally have a much larger hit point pool and certain innate resistances. So we've got to hit, we've got to score damage, and when that equals and bypasses a certain amount, the encounter is defeated. Well, magic bypasses that first part with a variety of spells. They automatically hit something as simple as magic missile or chromatic orb, or they hit and bounce lightning bolt, or they hit and affect an area, fireball. Bypassing that hit mechanic is massive. If you think about the mechanic of attacks in BG, turn after turn, round after round, hit, damage, hit, damage, hit, damage. I know I'm simplifying it a little bit, but if we miss, then that timer gets pushed out further and further for when you've scored enough hit points and damage to defeat the encounter. Magic with an automatic hit is massive. It bypasses that first mechanic. So that right there, especially spells that will scale, magic missile, huge. Now, yes, we have spell resistance, but we counter that, the art of the mage, and we've explored that, pushed that up the archive here. Naturally, of course, lower spell resistance. You have different spells before you begin your spells, different contingencies. There's an art to being a mage and an art to knowing how to defeat some of those more annoying mages. The second aspect is there's a variety of spells that go to what I call, again, we're looking under the hood here. We're looking at the engine, the DNA, what I call sudden death. So going back to this idea, first I score a hit, then I score an amount of damage, hopefully it's high, and then that subtracts from your hit point pool. When that gets to 0 and past that, you're defeated. Sudden death with spells forces you to go to a saving throw. Now, in the Advanced Dungeons & Dragons mechanics, a saving throw is your final attempt to resist something, some sort of magic, some sort of spell, some sort of disintegration, some sort of death, poison. If you fail that throw, then you suffer the effects. And certainly there's ways to improve it, and certain classes have better than others. but it's still a winner-takes-all throw, even if it's favored heavily. Even if I'm a Dwarven Defender, jacked up, mad saves, Unstone, I could still roll a 1 or 2. Again, turning the numbers on and seeing what happens gets very, very interesting. So the ability to bypass the hit, bypass the damage, bypass the hit point pool, and potentially go to sudden death, that's massive in itself. That's almost like a one hit. That's huge. Now, of course, certain encounters, certain monsters, monks know, right? You make it through with a monk and you finally get Quivering Palm and you're like, I have arrived, and you're just trying to like punch everything to death. Yes, some of the encounters have crazy, crazy saving throw modifiers, crazy good modifiers. But if you played the game long enough, you still could roll a 1. Things could still happen. But that's like a daily or a one-time power. As a mage, when you have the ability to cast spells, especially if they've been hasted, especially if you have devices to amplify your spells or increase your spells, something as simple as a ring of spell storing, huge, massive bonus spells. So from that perspective, you can throw 2 or 3 of a spell, force a saving throw, that bypasses that timer incredibly. That is one of the reasons why, and these are primarily, of course, offensive spells, but this is one of the reasons why magic and mages, again, are either so annoying in BG2 or as a character class to play, one of the easier, if not the easiest character class because of the power, the raw power behind it.